Hey guys, so as mentioned before, right now and today we're going to be doing factorization. Factorization is fairly simple. It's practically the opposite of expansion. And this year you're not going to be doing too complicated factorization sums. That will start next year. So anyways, let's start. So the most common factorization method is removing common common factor. You might think why we might use factorization for daily life, because expansion, we all know what expansion is from my last video. Well, factorization you can use to find the value of x. It becomes much easier in the end. So if you have something like 2x plus 8x plus 6, what's common between all of these? There's one number that appears in that all these numbers are divisible by. See, this is divisible by 2, this is divisible by 2, and this is also divisible by 2. So you can't take a number away from this because it's not an equation. It doesn't have an equal sign. It doesn't have an equal sign. So you can't just take things away. But you can divide them. So you divide everything by 2. Put bracket, because 2 multiplied by what equals 2x. So that's x. 2 multiplied by what equals 8x. That's 4x. And 2 multiplied by what equals 6. And we all know that's 3. Pardon me. This should be square over here. So x squared. So 2 times x is x squared. 2 times 4x is 8x. And 2 times 3 is 6. So we finish this bracket. And this is factorization. Now, what you can also do for further factorization is this can also be factorized. So in order to factorize this, you have to find a number that adds up to 4x and multiplies to 3. So let's say it adds up to 4, the coefficient of 3. It adds up to 4 and multiplies to 3. What number is this? Well, this is fairly simple, as it's 3 and 1. So what you then do is you do x squared plus 3x plus x plus 3. So as you can see, this is the same sum as this, but I've just split the middle term. And once you split the middle term, I'm sorry, what we're doing over here is not removing common factor anymore. This is removing common factor, and this is called and this is called splitting the middle term. So then what you do is you find the common factor, as we practiced before, between this and this, or this and this, or this and this. So the smartest thing to do first is to rearrange these numbers. So you do x squared plus x plus 3x plus 3. So then what you do is you keep the 2 here as always, and you find 2, then you put brackets over here. Alright, further brackets. So let's just turn these into square brackets. Square brackets. Then you further factorize the sum, and we group these two and these two together because they're easier to factorize that way. And then it's x squared plus x, and you're just putting brackets around this because then it's easier to identify which terms you're trying to find the common factor for, and 3x plus 3. So if you expand it, it'll still remain the same. And then you do 2. The common factor between these two is x, obviously. So you do x, and if you take x away from x squared, you're left with 1x. If you take x away from 1, you're left with 1. So x plus 1 plus, and what's the common factor between these two? It's 3. And then you do plus 3 x plus 1. And this type of method involves a lot of common factor, removing common factors, as then you see 2 common factors between these two. And what are they? That's x plus 1. X plus 1 is present in both of these terms. So you can further factorize it and make it, you divide everything by x plus 1, right? So you put x plus 1 over here. X plus 1 and what's left is x plus 3. X plus 3. Ah, sorry. X plus 3. There we are. And now that's quite easy factorization, and then you just do this x plus 1, x plus 3 there. So if you expand this, as we learned in the last video, you will come up with this, or my bad, this, and if you multiply that by 2, you should come up with our original sum, which is 2x squared plus 8x plus 6. Next thing we're going to be doing is, we looked at a sum that in the beginning everything is divisible by 2, but you may come across a sum that is not like that. So you might have 3x squared plus, let's see what's a good sum here. Let me think just a sec. Plus, I'm trying to find a proper term that could give a proper sum to us. Alright, and then if we add over here 4, and I'm trying to find the proper middle term here, 3, 4, 7x should do. Alright, so now we have a term that has no common factors. None of these terms have something in common, a whole number in common. So then we have to skip directly to this technique, as none of these terms have something in common either. So then you try to find a number. You might think, oh, now you have to find a number that adds up to 7 and multiplies to 4, but that's impossible. So then what you do is you have to multiply the coefficient of the first term, which is x squared. Circle that properly. The coefficient of the first term, and you multiply that by the last term. So that would be 12. So now we have to find two numbers that add up to 7 and multiply to 12. So then that's fairly easy, right? You just do 3, that's 3 and 4, by the way. And if you're having troubles doing this, then just write 12 on the side, and start from 1. So do 1 times 12, and that doesn't equal to, their sum does not equal to 7. 2 times 6, their sum does not equal to 7. 3 times 4, and hurrah, you found the two factors. So if it's taking too long, or if it's a big number, this is the best way to do it. So then you do 3x squared plus 3x plus 4x plus 4. And now things are much simpler, because now we can take the common factor between these two, which is 3x. You're dividing it by 3x, then you do x plus 1 plus 4 x plus 1. Till now we have only been getting x plus 1 as the answer, but this is not always the case. It could be anything, but I'm just giving really easy solutions and examples. So yeah, 3x plus 4 and x plus 1. So here what I did was, I've explained this before, but just for people who still don't understand, you're trying to find a number that is divisible by both 3x and 3x squared and 3x. So if you, the highest number that is, so if you have 3x and you divide 3x squared by 3x, you'll end up with x, because 3x times x is 3x squared, and if you multiply 3x times 1, it will become 3x. So same here, both of these are divisible by 4, so you do 4x plus 1, and then here you group out the common factor. So what you're doing here is you're dividing both these terms, and you can identify these as terms as there's an addition sign over here. So if there's addition or subtraction sign, it splits it kind of splits the terms. But if there's a multiplication sign here, the whole term would be considered as 1. But there's an addition, and even if there was subtraction, this would be a different term, and this would be a different term. So now you're dividing both of them by x plus 1. So what happens when you divide this by x plus 1? Well, you're left with 3x. let's just put that in a bracket, 3x. And what happens if you divide x plus 1 from here? You're left with 4. So then you add 4, 3x plus 4. Then we, and then we reach to this. So that's fairly easy, and that's the best way of factorization that has been made so far. And obviously you might get more tricky sums, like this is a perfect situation, there's addition everywhere. But if you had a sum which was the same sum, we can take 3x squared, and we have um, minus um, x and minus 4, then how do you solve this? Well, you still do the same thing. You multiply 3 by minus 4, which is equal to 3 times minus 4 is equal to negative 12. So negative 12, and you have to find two numbers that add up to negative 1 and multiply to negative 12. And as you know, if you multiply two numbers, in order for it to be negative, one has to be positive and the other has to be negative. So you have to find two numbers, one is positive and one is negative, that multiply to minus 12, but they also add up to negative 1, because there's a 1 over here obviously. So this shows us that they have to be consecutive, and the negative number has to be greater than the positive one, because the overall charge of this is negative. So again, this is the same thing. You have to do negative 4 plus positive 3, which is equal to negative 1, and they also multiply to negative 12. So then you do that, 3x squared minus 4x plus 3x minus 4. And then again you can group the terms, so you do 3x plus 3 minus 4x plus, I meant 1 over here, my bad, 3x. There's 3x here, and this is 1. And minus 4x plus 1. And then you group it, and it turns into 3x minus 4 and x plus 1. Right. These are the basic techniques of factorization, and that's it for our video.